The general public knows about this resolution. And what you guys are doing really to educate the general public to really know about this, because if they are not aware of it, they're not going to do anything, raise any voices.
You're absolutely right. I've been writing about the NDAA since late October. I run an organization called the Bill of Rights Defense Committee, and if you're interested in this kind of stuff, I would invite you to sign up to get updates for us. You're not going to hear it on Fox News. You're not going to hear it on reality TV, right?
But you don't hear it in NBC, ABC either. So don't just pick up one. It's a general media which is not really giving any information.
You're right. I mean, I think one of the challenges of our day and age is that with the proliferation of media sources, especially with the rise of new media, we have to become engaged consumers of information. You can't just trust that it's going to come to you, right? In the era of Walter Cronkite, we all might have argued from common facts and had differing perspectives. The facts are different now depending on who you listen to, right? If you watched on Hannity, you thought that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iran, right? I mean, and so it does take, I think, an active effort to avail yourself of information, and there's plenty of voices out there trying to provide it. You know, Heather's group, the National Security Network, is out there. The ACLU is certainly doing that. The Bill of Rights Defense Committee is doing that. The Montgomery County Civil Rights Coalition, your neighbors, are doing that. Just to take, you know, follow me here. This is an opportunity for you beyond raising your voice on the issues. If the institutional establishment is preying on your rights, the solution ultimately, if you look beyond discrete policy challenges, is to network. It is to rebuild civil society. The strongest check in our federal system is an empowered we, the people. Right? This is an opportunity for you, and I see it in this crowd. If you look around amongst you, you are a very diverse group. That in your diversity lies the strength of your community, and if you can stay networked and active and engaged, you can set the tone for our country. You can be proactive and set the agenda. You don't have to defer to an institutional establishment that is preying on your rights, right? You can, and the fact that you're coming together today on a Thursday night, when you all might have other things to do, I find it really inspiring, and I hope that you do too, especially given that, you know, you're a part of it.
If I could follow up on the gentleman's questions, I think that part of what you're getting at is the people who aren't here today, and the people who aren't in networks already and aren't seeking those media sources. And I'm not sure that I, you know, have the answer even the question, but you know that you know is clearly disturbing. But you know, what other kinds of organizing can be done beyond, you know, expanding your own network in terms of getting the information out to people who clearly haven't, you know, every single person has an interest, you know, and yet somebody who doesn't feel that he or she is particularly political or is, you know, kind of walking through life without thinking about these matters. How do you get through that?
I don't want to downplay the importance of the question, and I'll say that, I mean, I don't have answers here. It's turning my hair gray. I'm only 37. But I think you're right to ask the question, and it is crucial. I don't think anyone has particular answers. I mean, some answers include leveraging your own social media networks, you know, using your Twitter and Facebook accounts so that your friends know. They include getting your friends together over dinner to talk about this. You know, I point also to the way that the Montgomery County Civil Rights Coalition came together, which was a combination of online organizing, particularly around the Metro Bag Search campaign, as well as targeted outreach to particular communities like SALT, the Society for South Asian Americans Leading Together. You know, someone went from the Montgomery County Civil Rights Coalition to that group and said, we have a concern. Do you have this concern? They said yes. They said, okay, let's stand together. So that's how they got the word out. That there is an opportunity for you to do that with any organization. All of your community groups, every faith congregation in the city is an opportunity to educate your neighbors. And you can do it by it's as simple as showing up and introducing yourself as an ally, developing a relationship, taking somebody out to lunch, asking about their kids, what they do for fun, how they, you know, where are they from, and then you bring them to your meeting and you go to their meetings. And that's how all good things happen. That's what civil society is about. And I do think it will take that kind of getting down in the dirt, right? I mean, it's going to be a lot of phone calls, a lot of late night emails. It's going to be a lot of work, but there are many hands, and many hands make life work. And this is a movement already of tens of thousands of people around the country. And I think each of you has the opportunity to help scale it and help recover that promise that has long made our country great.
So we were talking about impact of the individual. I went to Barbara Mikulski's office on Tuesday with a group called the National Religious Campaign Against Torture. We were the National Religious Campaign Against Torture, we met with someone who was sort of like an intern, and we saw all these lobbyists walk in, and they knew them, and I'm sure they met with her directly. I think a resolution at the local level that those individuals will be able to get through that door, they'll be able to get through the media. And someone mentioned tar sands. Daryl Hannah got arrested. Darfur, George Clooney got arrested. I knew about those issues, but I'll tell you, there were a lot of people who didn't know till those two people got arrested. And I think there's a lot of people in Takoma Park, they would know once their council members said something. Those council members will be the ones who can talk to Barbara Mikulski directly, as opposed to us saying interns. So I think the coalescing...
Roger Berliner, who's the county council president, to return my email.
You can't even get that? You at least go farther than us, so.
We'll get you a meeting with Mikulski if you want to carry on.
Yeah. You all, I came in late, and you all may have already said this in the beginning, but what, I mean, and I hear the action you're asking us to take, but what specific action can the city council take? And I'm also, my listening is the resolution, sign the resolution, and am I correct in assuming that's sign the resolution, that's where the power is? Because I know as a city council, we've talked about sending letters or the resolution, and I've sent a couple of emails. I'm not sure which one is going to make a huge difference, and it sounds like the resolution is the one.
And then work for Montgomery County.
And then work towards the county council of Montgomery. Okay.
Yeah, I actually might, I might be a little more, in this I might be giving a slight nod to Seth, but I actually think what you do with it is even more important than what it is. So,
right.
and actually, and that deciding that whatever you do, that there's follow-up both at the county level and trying to get it into the media, and figuring out a way to make sure that our federal legislators see it. So to me, the follow-up is actually way more important
than just
not just what the thing is. Yeah.
Because I mean, I believe that when you drop a stone into the water, there are concentric circles, and they just keep going and going, and they can go. I mean, they can go forever. It makes a difference. It's what in the late '60s caused a shift in the civil society, when the people decided they weren't going to have war anymore, and that's what stopped it. It took a while. And what's the timeline for getting this? I mean, I'm assuming the close here, getting this law repealed. Is it years? Is it 10 months? Is it
So
after the presidential election?
There are a number of bills in the House and the Senate that would repeal some or all of it. Shahid led with the pessimism, and unfortunately, I don't see a huge groundswell to get the whole thing repealed, but you never know. There is, I think, really interesting prospect of at least getting a vote on a resolution, on an amendment that says nothing in the NDAA authorizes the indefinite detention of any civilian. That's the really hard reach that we could conceivably get this year.
And that is an element of the resolution that we're advocating.
And that's actually coming up between now and when Congress leaves for the summer. Assuming that then that's the optimistic scenario. The less optimistic, the next scenario down is that comes up, there's a good vote on it, we create debate, more people are aware of it, and most important, our political class becomes aware that there's a significant bipartisan movement on this. Then we have the ability to bring it up next year after the election, when there isn't the presidential circus around it. So that's the long game.
And I'm sorry, I thank you all so much for being here. I thank you for having the meeting. This is really eye-opening for me, for sure. I mean, it made a huge difference.
You weren't here at the beginning, but yeah, I'm one of your constituents. So thank you for being here.
I want to go back to the original comment, because what I'm finding in Maryland, the General Assembly is not, it's above their pay grade to go outside of their box. The county council has told me the same thing. And in the context of our constitutional checks and balances, the real purpose is when one level fails and the next level fails, then it's the next level that has to kick in or we'll all fail. And that's where the local council comes in. And Montgomery County's got to be pushed. And I think if your resolution specified which bills in Congress should be supported, I think that's very important. And it will alleviate a lot of confusion and a lot of opportunities to undermine the effort. But I think the elected officials get the bully pulpit, they get the media, and they will get the word out. Also consider Baltimore. The mayor of Baltimore has rejected secure communities. So, and we haven't in Montgomery County. I don't know whether Takoma Park has taken that up. But I also just want to add that Rahm Emanuel made sure that no progressives were elected in Congress. That's why we have all of these Republicans parading as Democrats. He wouldn't fund the anti-war progressive congressional candidates who could have won. And that's one problem. But the other, just one last note that I'm coming across as part of this, the DC Post has done a very good job on the Top Secret series. We have now a background check paradigm that's comparable to the loyalty oath. Few workers today looking for a job can get one without a background check, and there are a lot of problems with that. And there's a group in Baltimore that provides services and skills for prisoners coming out of jail to keep them out. They're being told that they have to do background checks and anyone with a criminal background can't participate. That's the direction it's going.
One last question. I know there are a lot of questions.
Yeah, let's take a bunch of questions and we'll give.
I just wanted.
Well, let's talk to the organizer.
Martine, you go
I just
ahead.
wanted to talk a little bit more about the vagueness of the language of the NDAA and kind of tie it over to what's happened with the material support law. And as an activist myself, I'm very concerned about leaked emails from Stratford that show that security companies are trying to link the Occupy movement in some way with terrorism. And they're literally like saboteuring, trying to create this linkage. So I think it's very interesting that he brought up the Occupy movement because I feel like somehow, just a hunch that this is somehow related to this. And so, you know, I know they keep talking about Al-Qaeda, but I think that we're getting to a point where any form of dissidence against American policy and advocacy is very easily going to be lumped into this category, not just animal rights, any kind of dissidence. And also, just one other point, if you could talk a little bit about the case that's now, that Chris Hedges and other journalists have brought. Journalists are very afraid now that this NDAA and detention provisions, in the vagueness of what they call associated forces and aiding the enemy, is going to hamper their work covering what's happening in the world. So maybe just touch on that.
Before you answer, what would you like to do?
I just wanted to talk about the idea of the resolution and point out some of the strengths of the resolution as opposed to a letter. One thing I like about a resolution is that it is that the debate about it would be conducted publicly, that there'd be a work session. That would be something where people could watch, could talk with counsel. It would become part of this debate that Robert Lanza pointed out is much of the point of doing this kind of work, having an effort locally. I think to conduct that, a resolution that's voted on by the council, I think that sends a really strong message. I certainly won't object to a letter, but I think a resolution would be such a great result from Takoma Park, one that would allow these kinds of ideas that Heather had of you and a person from Colorado Springs going to going to Congress and getting indefinitely detained, yeah. No, and lobbying that way. So I think that would be a, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of one of the great outcomes, I think, of a resolution, is that you'd be there with other city councils who've taken that public step. So
if you take like 3 more questions.
Can I take a few, Thomas?
oh yeah.
Okay. And then we'll come back to the occupied question.
Well, we'll answer all of them together.
Okay.
Yeah, John,